I Only See Strangers, Chapter 24. Goodbye. We all come into this world alone, and we leave it alone. But in between times, there's invariably others involved. And there was with me, that goes without saying. But for some people, being around others is their bread and butter. They thrive that way. For others, they get drained, exhausted even by company. I'm the latter type. I need space to think, and I do way too much of that. I suppose that's one aspect of me that has not changed. Others do have a function, though. Other people serve to regulate your behaviour. They let you know when you've gone too far, or not far enough. They prompt you when you have forgotten what to do or how to do it, what to say or how to say it. They're another pair of eyes when you've lost your phone, your keys, your wallet, glasses for the 6th time in the space of 2 hours. Another pair of ears when you miss that announcement telling you that yours is the next stop. Another nose when that meal you spent so long preparing is burning in the oven. Another pair of hands when there's washing up, hoovering, cleaning, cooking to do. Another pair of feet when you've walked so far yours are bleeding. Another brain when yours has gone on standby or ceased all operation. Another heart when yours has given out. Without those complementary parts, all civilization is lost. As a loner, people were a threat to my autonomy. And it is natural when perceiving a threat to secure defences. Once the moat is around the castle, everything over the water looks like a potential invader. It's hard to make the shadows out at a distance, but every glint of sunlight that gets through is a shiny dagger. Every bulge in a pocket is a concealed shotgun. And even if you can't definitively locate that tiny vial of poison in that handbag, it's obvious it's there. By my late 20s back in England, I had raised the drawbridge, lowered the portcullis, and it was just me and the drugs. In my castle, that's it. Those were more necessary than ever as I was playing Atlas, holding the whole damn planetary ball up on my shoulders. My whole body ached, my neck was twisted, I couldn't sleep, and I needed an ever-increasing amount of painkillers to keep going. I'd found another squat after having to get out of the place I'd shared with Millie. At first I had no electric, just boxes of candles and a colour gas heater, which I used for cooking toast and other snacks. Furniture consisted of a flea-bitten, springs-gone armchair and a mattress covered in fag burns to sleep on. The electric meter was the old type with the 4 thick exposed wires, 2 black and 2 red ones. Back then you could hook up the 2 outside wires to get free electric. There was always the risk of a shock doing that, but needs must, and it worked. It was still bleak though. I was bleak. My mood was sinking fast. I'd been depressed before as a child, but nothing like what was about to hit me. I couldn't face getting out of bed, even for drugs. I had a meth script and the bottles of meth would keep me from clucking for a while, but that was it. I was scared even of opening my eyes, fully dreading those early hours and the misery of approaching daylight. If I did eat, it was just whatever was in the house, mouldy bread, sugar with bits of black in it, dry cereal. It was too much to find a can opener. There was this total dread at the twinge which came with the call of nature. Only at breaking point would I struggle to the toilet or get a glass of water. The only thing I could think about was wanting out. I'd had enough of life. I'd been depressed as a teenager and been put on Valium at the time, but this time the desperation was complete. It was only after I found the energy to move and get out to the shop that I could get it together to end things. I'm not sure how many days I've been venturing out, but I got hold of a bottle of Mogadon and some barbs. I took a cocktail, some Largactil too, something I've been prescribed since my first psychotic breakdown a few years earlier. When I woke up a couple of days later, I found myself hooked up to a machine with a tube down my throat and in my nose. Later on it became clear that I was in intensive care. My stomach had been pumped. It's scary when you don't want anything at all, anymore, ever. and no one really knows or wants to know where you are, what you're doing, if you exist at all, least of all you. If the only option is a cappella, but you don't have a voice. Chapter 25. Beanie. When I entered the courtroom again, Miss Tyler Jones had been holding up a piece of paper to show the coroner and pointing to a word. Sir, can you clarify this word, the one in the second paragraph? It says, please be strong, not just for Beanie. It took me a moment to register. They had made it public. The letter I had received from Dolly on the day she died. The coroner turned to me. Miss Wheeler, would you mind clarifying what Beanie means? He's my dog. The dog, Miss Tyler Jones. I started thinking then, that just doesn't clarify things at all. Beanie is way more than the dog. The dog? The dog does not even touch Beanie. He is life support, the blood that runs in my veins. You can't separate us. We come as a package. There's no way I'd be turning up for life without Beanie. He's the only reason I bothered with staying alive after Dolly pissed off. I very badly wanted to off myself again, but I couldn't bear the thought of Beanie being left without me and ending up in a shelter. I'd left it to fate for a while. Often didn't bother looking when I crossed the road. One day on leave from the ward, I walked in front of a van deliberately. The guy swerved and slammed his brakes, then jumped out. Fuck's sake, what the fuck are you doing, woman? I don't do Hope anymore. Can't stand him. Hope's always been a shady geezer anyway. Hanging about with a stupid grin, trying all kinds of stunts to get the focus on him. He throws out these images of sparkling diamonds, bumper harvests, indulgent cream cakes which you're going to have and eat. He's forever droning on about how all you need is to push yourself that extra inch. So you do a 1,000-mile stretch, flat out 24/7, only to wind up back where you started. He's forever interrupting you so you miss what's going on in the here and now. He's always telling you to look over there, into tomorrow, the next day, next year. So you miss what you miss where you're supposed to be. Here, alive and present. The truth is, the bastard's got light fingers, robs you of everything you got by swearing he'll come back with something better. And he never even gives a timescale. So you keep on slaving like a mug, waiting for that second coming. It's a waste of time blaming the bastards. It's his job. And when he disappears, it seems tragic, like the end of the world. He's gone. Hope's gone. He's left you hopeless. While all the time he's out there having a ball without you. At least that's what you think. He's hit the jackpot. But that's exactly what he wants you to think. The tow rag's no different from every other rat in the race, scurrying about in the leftovers, telling porky after porky, calling himself Hope. But you've fallen for it, hook, line and sinker. You've made your wish. Fairy godmother's on the case, and it's out for delivery, all wrapped up in shiny pink paper with cuddly teddy bears and twinkly stars tied up beautifully with a gold ribbon and bow. Until it hits you. Hope is useless when he's single. He needs Lady Luck on his side. He needs her by his side, but luck ain't always a lady. More often than not, she's a bloody bitch. Miss Tyler Jones is happy with the dog explanation. Thank you, sir. I have no further questions. She sat down. I'd made it through the first day of Dolly's inquest, and no one had pointed the finger my way. Yet. Chapter 26. The most lethal condition. I look around me at all the strangers in the bar. I know I'm a stranger too, even to myself. As a child, we were told at school not to talk to strangers. I obviously didn't learn much because I talked to myself all the time. That was before the days when society cottoned on to the disconcerting truth that most children are abused, not by strangers, but by someone they know, a family member or a friend. I remember being warned at school by teachers armed with pictures of grubby-looking old men with bags of sweets handing them out to unsuspecting children. Above the pictures were big red warning letters. Never talk to strangers. It doesn't help that the word stranger rhymes with danger and that it also means odd or weird, nor that it only has one letter different from the word strangler. I learned enough to avoid that stranger in the local rec ground with the old raincoat, but I didn't stop the friend of my neighbour just out of the military doing his military hero bit on me. I was 13. I was heading home. It was winter and dark already. He came from over the road and started walking alongside me. 1 minute he was making conversation. Then, with no warning, as we turned a corner by the local school, he grabbed me and dragged me through a gap in the fence into a wooded area behind the playground. As he tore at my clothes, I pleaded with him. "I'm only 13. He came back with, "No, you're not, you're 16. After that, all I could get out was, "No," before he put his hand over my mouth and proceeded to wreck my life. As he was ripping my clothes, I managed to scratch him right down his face and smash his glasses on a rock, although he slightly loosened his grip in surprise. When I tried to shove him off, he became violently angry and more determined to get what he wanted. Afterwards, I ran up the road with only half my clothes on and shut myself in my room. People saw me, but no one said anything. I couldn't tell anyone because I knew I would be blamed. There must have been something I did wrong. It would have been my fault. I had to keep it to myself, and due to that I was in a full denial process. So the consequences had not fully hit me. Until one evening, when I'd just turned 15, and I was babysitting for some kids of a neighbour who lived across the street. During the evening, their uncle turned up. He was called Luke, and he was a plumber. He offered me a drink, and when he returned with the glasses, he sat down beside me and put his arm around me. I froze rigid, so he whipped his arm off me and gave me some space. "What the hell's the matter?" It all came out then. I burst out crying and told him about how I'd been raped a year and a half before. I remember his exact words. They were crystal clear. "If I ever come across that guy, I'll kill him. Don't think that every guy that comes near you wants to rip your knickers off." It was only after that, after speaking about it out loud, that what happened to me in the grounds of that school turned me into a quivering rack around men. If a man was behind me in the street, I froze. I was constantly checking behind me. Nearly 50 years down the line, and I still am. I checked my bag to make sure I still have all my paperwork. I pull one of the reports out and a newspaper pulls out with it. It's one I found left on a seat on the platform when I was waiting for the train out here. An article had jumped out at me. It read, "Loneliness, on its way to becoming Britain's most lethal condition." It has reached epic proportions where researchers estimate that up to 1 in 4 people suffer from it. People of all ages are at risk from diseases brought on by loneliness. New data has revealed. According to figures published by the Office of National Statistics, 2.4 million adult British residents of all ages suffer from chronic loneliness. That number, combined with research highlighting the medical dangers posed by loneliness, could see the condition being recognised as the UK's most dangerous health issue. The latest figures form part of efforts to further the work of murdered MP Jo Cox, who launched a commission on loneliness shortly before her death. They also follow the death in March of leading loneliness researcher John Cacioppo. Both Cacioppo and the Cox Commission, which was wound up last month, believe the number of adults suffering from loneliness in the UK is even higher than the ONS suggests, up to 9 million adults. Loneliness has long been linked with psychological problems like alcohol and drug abuse, eating disorders and depression. But Cacioppo's key insight was that loneliness is fundamentally a biological problem. Its key causes are not in the mind or society, but in the body, and so is its most profound effect, death. Analysis of 300,000 people in 148 studies found that loneliness is associated with a 50% increase in mortality from any cause. This makes it comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes a day and more dangerous than obesity. As the lead researcher of the analysis, Julianne Holt Lundstedt comments, loneliness significantly increases risk for premature mortality. Only when this shocking connection is understood will we start to treat loneliness as the public health emergency it is. Loneliness has reached epic proportions in the UK, where researchers estimate that up to 1 in 4 people suffer from it. This number will certainly rise as the population ages, as more people live alone, and workplace automation further weakens bonds between people. Cacioppo, who argued that the root cause of loneliness is evolution, pointed out that modern society is worlds away from the community-based life for which we are designed. Humans are such deeply social animals that it makes no more sense to consider a person in isolation than it does an ant or a bee. Even as adults, we are so dependent on our groups that for millennia, separation from them was a de facto death sentence. For this reason, said Cacioppo, we evolved to experience social rejection in the same way as physical pain. Brain scans have shown that social pain, such as being shunned by a community, activates the same region, the dorsal anterior cingulate, as bodily trauma. When we feel threatened by isolation, evolved responses drive us into a state of cognitive hypervigilance. We voraciously scour situations for social information that might allow us to re-establish personal connections. Tragically, though, the very same hyper-alert state creates characteristic errors in social thinking that make us negatively misinterpret the information we detect. When we are lonely, we tend to misread others' intentions as critical, competitive, or threatening. We are less able to imagine things from their perspective. A nation of isolation. At the same time, loneliness makes our thinkings more self-centered, caustic, and distant. Responses made with this mindset can easily provoke the rejection we most fear, causing a self-fulfilling feedback loop. This, said Cacioppo, is the catch-22 of loneliness. To escape it, we need other people, but the emotion itself impairs our ability to attract them. And there was 3 links in the paper entitled People Don't See You, Britain's Loneliness Epidemic Highlighted. Then I Am 76, I Know What Loneliness Feels Like. And then Theresa May to unveil new plans to tackle homelessness. And underneath the links, it says, the numbers requiring help are daunting. They will become more so as structural and demographic forces weaken social connections further and result in ever more people living in isolation. Unless we find the will and the money to decisively tackle loneliness, the coming decades could see it recognised as Britain's biggest killer. The article could have gone further. Isolation doesn't just kill people, it can make them into killers themselves. You can't care about people when there's nobody there to care about. And it goes further than that. PC Presentable, the one who used to lurk at the back of your mind, handcuffing your thoughts, has gone to sleep. Thoughts are no different from kids. If they spend too much time unsupervised, they get up to no good, running riot, threatening the peace. All thoughts need is a mate to be themselves with. That way they can share a joke, even cuddle up for the night, maybe watch a movie. And mates come in all shapes and sizes: a person, a bottle, a plate of cream cakes with a sick bucket, a spoon and some works, a DI project, an exercise bike. They do the job. But left with no mates, the little bastard thoughts are liable to shoot up into monstrosities, gunning their way through the victim's nervous system and staging a coup. They've got sisters, of course, those little seeds that blossom beautifully, white and innocent like morning glory. But if you wind up slacking, then they're going to go bindweed. Then you've got to deal with an evil vine wrapped around all the corners of your mind, busy choking every healthy little bud to an early death. Isolation and introspection is lethal. Unless you're one of them spiritual gurus who can hole up in a cave in the mountains year upon year, feeding only on the rays of the sun. I really wish I could. But you can't get away from it. Human beings need human beings. One hominid alone makes no sense. Reason being, there is no one self. Self only assembles itself in the face of others, for defence. If there is no advancing army, all you wind up with is soldiers dispersing, doing their own thing, having a kip, whatever. The regiment is gone. Discipline is forgotten. There's nobody home.